Are you a swatter?
No, I'm a runner.
You're a runner.
I run away. I run in fear. Like, if I'm at a restaurant eating outside, my entree's just arrived, I'm out of there instantly.
Really?
Yeah, I will give the bee my entree.
Wow.
And run down
I
the
would
street.
never give anything my entree.
Hi, I'm Lacey J. I'm an entrepreneur who started a social media agency at age 22. Weird, I know. I've been niching it down and building it up over the last 11 years, and a long 11 years they have been. Being on social media so much is hard on my and my team's mental health, so we work to find routines, balance, and focus on ethics that keep us showing up authentically online. If you manage social media accounts and you feel confused, unfocused, or straight up wackadoo, welcome to the club. We meet here once a week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm so happy to have you here. I can't believe you came back, but you did. Here we are. I got a special treat for you. Today, I brought Natalie Murphy. Natalie is an influencer turned marketer and a very good friend of mine.
My favorite title, Lacey.
Good. In high school, Natalie started a fashion blog as an assignment. I didn't know this about you until we got ready for this. And through her highly skilled and strategic work, the fashion blog took off, launched her into the world of being a social media influencer. For the past 8 years, she's used her skills to keep building her personal brand as well as many others. She was a contractor for Disney for 3 years and now runs digital marketing for a Portland-based countertop company, which is how we met.
Yes.
I'm so glad we did.
I am so glad we did too. And I really, it's crazy to hear all of that because living it, like you say, diligent work. And I'm like, it was me in my dorm room, like, loving social media, and so I'm so glad the universe brought us together, which is so fun.
I know, me too. So Natalie and I have worked together on a couple projects for the past 3 years.
Wow.
Or so.
Wow.
I know.
Wild.
And got to know each other really well. And so she actually has brought in, it's not often I give up, some topical control here. And so this is a special moment. Natalie came up with the concept of this episode being 2 truths and a lie about social media. So you've brought 2 truths and a lie, and we're going to go through them.
Okay. So I feel like, first off, I pulled these from the University of Maine, and I'm sure we can put the link in the show notes or something like that. I thought this would be really fun. Lacey and I have both worked in social for such a long time that some of these even surprised me, which is always fun. Okay, so I'll jump right in.
Okay.
The first one being the average number of social media accounts is 8.4 per person, and this was taken in 2020.
8.4 per person. So that means that some people would probably either have to have multiple on one platform.
Yes.
People like us who manage many.
We have tons.
We are like, making the average go up a bit.
And it doesn't account at all for like how active you are on that particular account, right?
It's just, do you have an account? How many social media accounts?
Yes.
8.1. That seems a little high. Okay. All right.
What do you think it is? True or false?
I think, is that one true or false?
It's true.
It is. I might have said that one was false. 8.1 feels like a lot.
It feels like a lot. And I feel like what's interesting about this being pulled from 2020 is like the, surge in popularity with TikTok. I don't know if it did account for that or it didn't, and I didn't have those specifics. This is the, the other thing that they gave. The growth of the number of accounts per person is up 75% from 4.8 accounts in 2014.
Wow.
In 2020.
So double in 6 years.
Which is crazy. And I think a common theme of some of these facts I'm going to read today is just how social media has been so influential in our lives and how that's only increased with time and the time that we've been working in social.
Do you have any idea how many accounts you are an admin on? Even ones that maybe you're not active on anymore?
Well, what comes to mind when I read this stat is actually like I'm always looking for new platforms. Like I'm on Be Real right now and I'm not really using it that much.
But you do have
an account. But I do have an account. And so in terms of being an admin or a personal user, I would say I'm at like 10. I'd have to check that after this, but that's probably my best estimate.
So I'm just the weirdo who's like an admin on 100 accounts.
But that makes total sense. For you, it's like you're equaling that average in another way for the person that's not on social at all, right? Because I have one friend that's not on any platform, and he's the only person I know that's like that.
So he's the outlier this way.
Yes, but then there's the
I
extremes.
balance him out with my 100.
Totally. Or if like you have, 3 Instagram accounts, one for cooking, one for your small business, and one,
for your family and friends.
Exactly. So it's doubled in just how many years? 2014 to 2020?
So 6 years.
Yes. And then the other thing that this accounts for is the rise of specialized platforms. So LinkedIn and, like I was mentioning, Be Real is like a new popular one. Or like
Clubhouse.
Yes, and anything that's like Twitch is a great example as well.
Definitely.
So the specialty platforms have sort of been more popular in recent years.
When we start thinking about all outside of the normal family of social media accounts and you start getting into...
Who is in the normal family?
In my opinion, I would say
Meta.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok.
Yes.
That's like I would call that the core family.
R.I.P. to Pinterest. We're so sorry.
I know,
that.
you're just on the outlier. It's the fringe.
I used to love Pinterest, so that's really sad to say. But yeah. So it accounts for platform choice and specialization.
Okay, so that one's true.
Also the rise of YouTube, which is important. Okay.
Oh, and multiple YouTube channels too. That makes sense.
So I mean, it's like, I guess the definition of what is social media makes this stat kind of hard because you can account for everything or nothing. I'm sure they have some sort of metric on that. Okay, number 2, women make up the majority of social media users, and this is worldwide.
Okay. When I first read this one that you sent, my gut immediately said that's correct.
Yeah.
That women would make up the majority because we are so much more... what are we so much more?
Communicative, perhaps, and
we like to build, community and have this support system and stuff. But because it seemed so, yes, that's right, it makes me doubt that it's true.
And you would be right because it's false.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not, women do not make up the majority of social media
So
users.
this really surprised me. In the U.S. they do, because I compared 2. So in the U.S., us ladies are on social media more than male counterparts. In the U.S., 54% of users are female, but the remaining 46% are male. The global average is 45.6 for female and 54.4 for male. So it's not a huge difference, but when you consider the enormity of how many people that's encompassing, it's a huge difference. So that surprised me, but it also didn't surprise me because, again, how do you account for bot users, right?
Yes.
And we've all gotten DMs from random accounts, and I feel like most of those that I can think of have been male or male presenting, I guess. And so this one kind of surprised me a little bit.
Well, but then you flip it on its head and maybe people in our business who are male and they're getting DM requests from bots, are those female presenting bots?
Yeah, exactly. So it's our own bias a little bit and on our own accounts, which is interesting. But yeah, I thought that one would be true.
I would love to see the makeup of bot accounts, male to female. If we could identify which accounts are the bot accounts and how they're presenting to people, that'd be interesting.
Okay, and then this last one, I've got a last one, and then I have a little tidbit at the end because I just thought it would be fun.
Okay.
The average social media user engages with an average of 6.6 various social media platforms.
Okay, so they've got 8.1 accounts, but they engage...
8.4 accounts.
8.4 accounts on average, but they're engaging with 6 different platforms. That's interesting. That feels like too many. Well, let me try to identify. 6 feels like a lot to me. Let me think of my own behavior and which platforms I actually use. Okay, so Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok... Yes. I go on Twitter, so I guess that must count because I go sometimes. That's me engaging with the platform.
I visit Twitter once a year.
YouTube.
Check on it.
Okay, that's 6.
I use YouTube a lot. Yeah, so I feel like if you account for those major platforms, then it makes sense. And this is true. So, 2 truths and a lie. The last one is true. Wow.
What's interesting is we have to often decide for businesses, where do you focus your time?
Totally.
Do you spread out your efforts across this 6.1 that people are checking? Do you put effort into just one or a few?
If you had asked me in 2013 to 15, even 16 and 17, what's the strategy? It was to be everywhere all the time where it was visible.
Yes.
And now it's so much more specialty, and I think that's such a better strategy, and it just really speaks to how the industry changes every 3 months and then how it slowly changes year by year.
Okay, so if we've got these 6.1 that people are checking right now, and let's say on average they're about those 6 that I talked about, we can include Pinterest as a 7th. Which platform do you think is the first for us to cut out of our marketing efforts from a business perspective?
Ooh, this is a fun question. And selfishly, I want to say Facebook. But Facebook is still so relevant in terms of advertising, so I kind of can't. What do you think?
I would say if I had to cut out some, it would probably be YouTube from a
Ooh,
business marketing perspective.
Yeah.
Just because, why?
So much effort for so little outcome so often. I think
it's like I don't know the right answer to why, but I think it's just because you have to create longer form, higher quality content.
The quality and the time that you spend on it, as a team, because you have to be a team. There has to be somebody shooting, or, people can get really creative. But I think there's a lot of time emphasis, and you don't get a lot out. And I really focused on YouTube with my latest role, and I just feel like, not that it was wasted effort, because video content kind of lives on.
And you can repurpose it on other platforms.
Yes, totally. But did it grow on YouTube? No, because it's not engaging content for YouTube.
Oh, maybe that's part of it too, why I would say YouTube is one of the first things that you would cut out, is like, in order to get to a monetization status, you have to get all the way up to 1,000 subscribers. And I would love to see stats on how many accounts there are versus how many are at 1,000 subscribers, because that is a slow crawl.
It's really slow
to get from 0 to 1,000.
I think in the 2 years I actively worked on it for precision, I think I got like 200, and I would mark that as an accomplishment because of how hard that process is. And I think, I forget the exact requirement for creators on TikTok, but it's a similar format of like that build up. You have to really be committing to it to, get results essentially. But yeah, I'd cut YouTube.
And it is hard for me to consider the idea of cutting Facebook, probably because it's one of the biggest traffic generators.
Yes.
I
said selfishly.
Yes.
That's for me. It's not for the client.
If one of the goals for a business marketing plan is to drive traffic to a website, which often it is.
Yeah.
Instagram is not the place where you're going to be driving traffic. TikTok is not the place where you're going to be driving traffic.
Yes, because the links are so much harder. And originally, Instagram didn't really support links. That's changed in recent history. But, it's not the exact. And now that they got rid of the swipe up feature, and you have to actually click, and there's friction points in the process. And so for web traffic, I just don't think it's super helpful. I would also cut Pinterest, I have to say. And I work in home improvement, so that's like a major platform for that. We were talking about specificity earlier. I think that's how you say that.
I think you got it.
I think I did that right.
Good job.
But, we were talking about that, and it's just, it doesn't result in any sort of major impact. It does on web traffic, and we've seen that in our meetings for this particular client. But I think that, overall, the platform's really changed to support advertising and video, which is a strange fit for Pinterest. And I actually was thinking the other day, and we talked about this yesterday, what's going to happen, where do you put your photos? If you're a brand or a creator that loves still imagery, or an artist, so many artists say that they don't have enough time or equipment to film themselves, and it's often their second job at night. Where is that going to go now that Instagram and every platform is leaning towards video?
Where is it going to go? What's the answer, Natalie?
On a wall or in an album. No, I don't know. And it's a big question, because I think people still do love photography. And it doesn't really have a place anymore, because video is just eating everything. And don't get me wrong, I mean, we're on video right now. I love video, but I just wonder the longevity of that type of sharing.
It's been hard for us as a social media agency to figure out exactly how to pivot from using still photos consistently to video content creation.
Yeah, it's been hard for all of us. I think anyone you talk to that's been in this industry for longer than, I don't know, maybe 5 years is going to tell you, this transition has been, so time consuming, and, your 40 hours look a lot different than they did 5 years ago because of that still content difference.
Why is video eating everything? Why is there such an obsession from the social media platforms for video, do you think?
I mean, it's easy to consume. If you think of reading text as the hardest, most friction, and you think of video as the least friction, and short form video being we all take a break, we go on TikTok, and it's so easy to watch, and it's not a huge time commitment, and you can squeeze it in. It's not like watching an episode or committing to a series. I think there's a very natural reason that I don't want to say praise upon the human parts of us that like that type of content. Yeah. But it's kind of like your mom would say, don't watch too much TV, it'll rot your brain out. I kind of feel like that's somewhat true. And we talk about time management and social media for good and all of these different things. But I think it's just popular because human nature loves it.
Yeah, and as attention spans are decreasing and decreasing, I do wonder if it's good for us. You know what I mean?
Too.
Is it better for us to be able to have these experiences on social media with static content that we can read and ingest in a slower form versus these 7 to 10 second videos that makes us feel something for a half a second and then we move on, feel something for a half a second and move on.
Right. And I think one of the most interesting trends that's happened on Instagram in the last, I would say like year and a half, is the slider text format because that's so popular now.
Oh, you mean like when we've got a gallery post and it's got a sentence and then you swipe over another sentence.
And a lot of like activists use it, a lot of like, I would say like naturopaths and things in that realm. And that can go, I mean, it's the Wild West. So it's any information you want to share. But I think that's an interesting trend and almost like a little bit of a rebellion as to like we have text information that's relevant to share and like we're just adjusting to the format because we all know it's Instagram's game and we're all just playing it, you know.
Amen.
So I have one last tidbit just because I couldn't help myself and I thought it was
your last, but it's not my last. So
I mean, given what it's about, okay. Globally, the average time a person spends on social media a day is 2 hours and 24 minutes.
Woo!
If someone signed up at 16. Which I'm trying to think of.
Ooh, this is a good stat.
When I did, excited. I know. If someone signed up at 16 and lived to 70, they would spend 5.7 years of their life on it, which is a lot. I mean, think about the time, and like that's not even including the people that are working on Facebook and all of these things.
That
but
gave me goosebumps.
Yeah,
5.7 years of their life on scrolling social media,
and that's why I think if there were a theme to today's episode, like. Social media is important and how you speak on it and consume it and are mindful around it is really important. And I feel like that statistic just like solidified that in my brain. Because if you're going to spend 5.7 years of your life on it, what are you consuming and how is it helping you, right? And I think that's just something to keep in mind.
As I scroll through, when I know it's time for me to be done, is like when my dopamine wells are empty. I can tell.
Oh, man.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're scrolling and nothing is bringing back that positive feeling and you're kind of sinking lower and lower into despair.
For me, I have to watch for, I wouldn't call it a wormhole. I'd call it like a rabbit hole of like, I see one sad thing or one upsetting thing. And then I have to research it as if researching it is going to bring me some peace. When in reality, if I put my phone down and like went outside, I'd feel a lot better. And so it's just like that's for me the dopamine thing is really interesting because I think we maybe all have a different stopping point or things that we do online that make us not feel great.
Yes.
So it's my last tidbit.
Okay, well maybe my last tidbit then because I get the last tidbit.
Yeah, this is her show, so she does get the last tidbit.
Is you have had a couple pieces of content on TikTok recently that picked up steam and went viral. Yeah. I'm so interested in how that went, how it happened, what your analysis is of it. So tell me about the content.
What was really cool about TikTok and all of us being stuck inside for so long is that I didn't start Instagram as like an experiment. Like I started it because at the time I was sharing sandals and bags and random
in
things.
Your fashion blog.
Yeah, so it was always important that the content did well or that I was funneling web traffic and I never got to like just use it and then pull back and see what that data was saying. And we weren't there at that point, I don't think.
And even in your career, you weren't quite there at that point.
No,
You were doing stuff for a purpose, whereas now you have so much more experience and data points to draw from that you can analyze from a totally different perspective.
Totally. And I didn't even know that I liked data, to be honest. Like, I was always on the creative side, like, growing up in school, and then, with my blog and later with Disney, I started all in creative. And so it's like, it was really interesting to sort of be fascinated by the data and then want to do that more. So with TikTok, I felt like I started the whole thing as an experiment. We were all seeing like the dancing videos and it was really funny and authentic. And it really reminded me of what Instagram, sadly, I think used to be. It was like this place for creativity and like, so much humor and stuff. And I feel like I was just like, okay, I'm going to see how this works because it's such a like Wild West open moment.
Yes.
And the one that went viral initially, and I was like grateful it did because it gave me like a chance to understand the For You page a little bit better, was one that I made at Goodwill, which is my favorite place. I can be found there quite often. And, it was all of these Garmin what would you call them? Navigators?
Yeah.
I remember my parents having them in the car and like, you know, but like in between, what I say?
What did you call them? Were they GPS?
GPS navigation systems by Garmin. And I said it was like relics from a time between MapQuest and iPhones,
yes.
right? It was like this very particular time in history, and it just sort of like hit. And it was almost like immediate of just like thousands and thousands of likes. And I started to really develop a theory around the circularity of TikTok content and when the user starts the video to when they complete it, and then the shares being really important. So it gave me like a really good understanding of like, once it goes, and it just keeps going, right? It's sort of like YouTube in 2008 with like cat videos at the time, right? And then what was interesting is like, and a little disappointing about TikTok is you'll go, okay, like I think I understand this, and then you'll make another piece of content, and that content, you know, it'll go down the drain, and that's just the nature of making content, I think. But also, I had another one go viral, same format. So I was in Michael's Crafts, and there were all these like toilet bowl planters all over the shelves.
Okay.
And like a big sign that said like my favorite seat in the house, and they're referring to the toilet. And I just was like, what is this? I
think you said like, who's the buyer for Michael's right now?
Is the design team at Michael's okay?
Yes,
and
that's
I literally had one of their designers respond back in the comments and be like, I'm not okay. I'm not. And
so awesome.
And I just was like, it was like the best ever. But what I thought was so interesting was like, I was like, okay, so both these formats, I was in a store filming a shelf, not my face, not my dog, whatever. And I almost wonder if the type of content, like the classification matters as well as like the circularity, and if people are interested in watching it and share it with their friends or whatever. But I also use the audio waltz of the Meatball Man, which is one of my favorites. One of my all-time favorites.
In both videos, did you tag the store?
Did
you tag Goodwill and Michael's?
I didn't tag Garmin or Goodwill.
Okay.
Hey, Goodwill, I would love to work with you. But I think I tagged Michael's, and I don't think the official Michael's responded. I don't think they would, but sometimes they do, and I think that's what's fun about TikTok. I mean, we've all seen Scrub Daddy and Duolingo.
Oh God,
such good content. And
is it good? What is it?
I enjoy it, so I'll classify.
Entertaining.
Yeah, it's entertaining. I'll classify it as good. You know, up until the point where they're like giving birth to sponges and the
best part. If you've never seen that video, Natalie showed me this.
So good, you gotta watch it.
What's the two brands?
Duolingo and Scrub Daddy, my favorite sponge.
And they have babies. These sponge babies.
They fall in love, and then they did this like collaboration that must have been so fun for their teams to work on.
You can see the person's hand
shooting the baby
sponges out. I mean,
and if somebody paid me to do that, that would be great. Like, you know, working in home improvement, we don't have like the same. I think the direct to consumer products can have so much fun.
Yes.
And everybody's got like a different brand outlook on social, but I feel like it's pretty cool. I really like it.
It's so funny. All right. Well, I could talk to you about analytics on here forever. And so, you know, we'll have you on again because we could have 8 more topics that we could go through.
There's so many. Lacey and I talk about this all the time.
We do. Don't tell our bosses or the people that, you know, pay us.
Right.
But, like, I feel like at the beginning of all of our calls, we spend the first 20 minutes just, like, talking about what have you seen lately in your content and what have I seen? And it's not really the get work done that we're supposed to get done, but it's still beneficial, isn't it?
It's still productive, and one of the things I appreciate so much about the people I currently work with and work for is they're forward thinking in the way that, you know, we talk about all the time how being a social media manager or working in marketing, you're kind of a team of one.
Yes.
Or at larger corporations, you're on a team of many. But for me, what was so important with this role is like I was starting kind of from scratch with this account, and so like I have another social media team member, you know, in the form of a contractor, in the form of an agency. And I think that's so helpful because I think if you want your brand to be successful, then you like need the input, you know, because like, there's
the more data points that you have, the better decisions that you can make.
Because like we all want our ads to work, right? I mean, like that's the goal. But yeah, we have a lot of fun, which I like.
Okay, before y'all head out for your day, the big takeaway I want to give you, and Natalie, I'd love to hear your feedback on this too, is this year I've been doing this thing where every piece of content that I put out, I try to be, at least on my personal brand and any brands that I hold the most personal, I'm the first one to like the content.
Yes.
There's something metaphorical about it to me. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm even like going back through like for my personal side, and I'm like going back and trying to like each one of my pieces of content. So
because usually I'll give it like my own little kickstart. Like I'm like, there you go, 1 like, right?
Yes.
Or, you know, we all know like we switch out of the account and then we
go
to our personal account
and then like it.
And then we're like liking it and saving it. We're like, there you go. Like almost like you're sending like a baby into the world.
Yes.
You're like, here's the tools you need and I'm giving them to you. Like be free. You know what I mean?
I have this concept on our personal brand or our creative or our passion projects that really, if you pour into it being for you and about you, that's actually when it serves others the most.
It's kind of true, yeah.
And so I've got this habit that I'm building that every time I post a new piece of content of mine, I'm the first one to like it because I like it.
You're like
and
backing yourself
I like
up.
It?
Yeah, no, totally.
So,
and that's a good way to think about it because I think something like I've struggled with over the years is as my personal brand has changed a million times. I mean, talk about like you're in college or you're in high school, you're going to change like 15 times between then and even 30. So for me, it's like that evolution. Like I feel like when I'm sticking to what's authentically myself, it's better. Because one of the regrets I have about blogging, and this was like just the era of the time, is like we were all sort of like putting on a facade, which sort of led to this like Instagram like realm of perfection. You know what I mean? So I think that's healthy and like kind of fun. And I also like that you are backing up you.
Yes.
That's fun.
All right, well, I wish you could see Ella here, our puppy, on the
She's
screen.
very cute.
She's bringing me joy. I'm gonna post a picture of her and be the first one to like it. So look for it on our.
Which now you can like stories.
Exactly.
We should talk about that at another date for sure. I don't know what to make of that.
I know it's interesting,
but yeah. Well, thank you, Lacey.
You're so welcome. I'm glad that you were here. I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful for all of you listening or watching and your time. We hope you have a good day, a good week, and that you keep learning. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Social Media with Lacey J is brought to you by Spry Social Media Marketing. Edited and produced by Chad Hinman. And executive produced by Lacey J. Fott.